Pyler's asking, so anyone know why Tails doesn't scout? What do you, can you answer that for him?
I like the response that was in the chat from someone.
Oh, I didn't even see it. Where was it? He doesn't need to. Okay, that's cool.
Yep.
And yeah, that's a good answer. That's actually right. 100% right, Dance.
Like, the thing is,
Dance.
he gets a gateway first, so his build is like pretty safe against like any sort of early pool. You know, it's not like he's Forge Fast expanded, doesn't have any attacking units, so he doesn't really need a probe scout. And yeah, then he scouts a little bit later with the Zealot and Stalker to do pressure, which is like usually always safe in the current metagame. Of course, if you lose them early without doing much damage, it becomes bad. But then again, if you're moving out with the Zealot and Stalker and you see your opponent, has speed, because usually your opponent will have a Ling outside of your natural, right? Scouting to see when you come across the map, and if you go with a Zealot and a Stalker and you see a Ling with speed, then you know, okay, I'm not going to go in pressure because I know what he's doing. I know he has early gas, I know he has early speed. His third is going to be a little bit later. But if he doesn't have speed, you can feel safe to go across the map and do some scouting, do some pressure with the Zealot and the Stalker. But that being said, we have game number 2 between Tails and Leenock on the map Atlanta Spaceship at the 12 o'clock location. We have the Red Zerg player Leenock from Team FXO. And his opponent at the, what is that, 9 o'clock? 8:30?
8 o'clock?
8:30?
8:39, yeah.
8:30, 8:34-ish, I think.
Okay.
We have the Orange Protoss player Tails from Team MVP, currently up 1-0 against Leenock. So, can he take it and go to the finals? This feels like a finals, man. These two guys are...
Yeah. This feels like a finals of like a huge tournament that had like 128 players.
Yeah, man.
But Tails played so well in that previous game. He seemed like he read Leenock like a book, knew his style, knew that obviously he transitions a lot from roaches into mutas, and behind that he actually went for a sort of a base trade. He went into the third, wasn't able to do significant damage. Tails overall had the better unit and better unit composition. Pretty much counterattacked and won against Leenock, but this is a completely different game, game number 2, and what is Leenock going to open with? It looks like it is going to be hatch first. I believe that was a 15 hatchery being thrown down here for Leenock. Spawning pool is going to follow, actually getting the gas before the pool. That's interesting.
Yeah, and that's the thing about this type of build from Tails. The Zerg player, he can do that. He can go for the 15 hatch, and there's really nothing Tails can do to abuse that as far as cannons are concerned. Yeah, and there's the pool and gas from Leenock. So going for a safer style, and yeah, that's not too surprising on this map because the third is so far away from your natural. It's a decent distance. Actually, that's not that significant. Never mind. Compared to your opponent. So yeah, a little bit surprising. Not going for the 3-hatch play, but then again, it is Leenock. Very aggressive player. And also, if your opponent goes for the gateway opening, as Tails is doing, has been doing, you know, it's more likely they're going to do a lot of early aggression. So it's kind of dangerous to go for that third and delay that speed so long. So very unique game right here. Like, just off the openings, based on the current metagame. But then again, 2 very unique players.
I completely agree, and it seems that Tails has his build down, and this time he's actually getting a Zealot and his second Zealot. You say he goes 3 Zealots before Stalker? I think last game he went Zealot Stalker and then pressured.
I think no, I think this is the same. He went 2 Zealots and a Stalker, and then he adds 2 gateways to his natural.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. And it's smart that he's not pressuring with this because it's a pretty long rush distance until you get to your opponent's base. It's going to be a lot harder to run back to your base in case you engage against like a huge number of Lings. But Leenock only has a few Lings on the map right now. 4 Lings. Looks like he's actually going to be up to 6 Lings, I believe. No, only on 4 Lings. And a Roach Warren immediately gets thrown down for Leenock, and this is his style. He does not care. If he wants to all in, he will. As long as it wins him the game, that's all he has to do. And Roach Warren on the way, so this definitely seems like it's going to be very heavy aggression here from Leenock. And Tails moving across the map with the Stalker and the Zealot. Metabolic Boost is almost completed. Additional Stalker on the way. 2 gateways have been added here at the choke to sort of build a little wall off. And this might be a little bit of trouble against Tails. It's only going to be on 1 gateway.
Yeah,
and that is not going to be enough against this huge, well, not huge, but it's going to be a significant amount of roaches that Leenock's going to throw at him here.
Only 1 gas too, so it's not like he can fall back to like a bunch of sentries. And speed is about to finish. It might ultimately come down to micro. I mean, 6 roaches, they are going to be slow off creep. So Stalkers, if microed correctly, can be good against that, which I would expect Tails to make a few of at this point. But no, a Stalker getting surrounded, and there we go. Tails adding on 3 gases, so knows he's like, all right. My opponent has speed. My Stalker just died. I just lost any potential for early aggression. Again, he only has 3 gateways as well. But this is what I thought Leenock would do last time. Remember he droned up? Remember he droned up after deflecting that early aggression?
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, he's going all in with Lings and Roaches. And I think that would have done a lot of damage, but didn't do that. But in this game, making a lot of Lings and Roaches, he's trying to exploit the low sentry count of his opponent, and we'll have to see if it works.
Yeah, and the difference between this game and the previous game is he had a third up, so it's pretty easy to just drone behind it, go ahead and saturate your third, but here he's only on 2 bases, and a significant difference in drones. He only has 23 drones in this game, and he is just making Roaches and Lings, man. Rallying across the map, 58 supply to 50 of Tails. Tails finally going to get his Warp Gate completed, and no Forge on the way yet for upgrades, so this might be a little bit of a problematic timing here for Tails. Leenock is going to show the Roaches, and gonna try to focus down the Zealot. Zealot's gonna go down. Laser actually gonna go in. Force Field goes up here for Tails. Gonna try to minimize some of the damage here from the Roaches and Lings, but at the same time, man, production tab shows nothing here for Leenock. There we go. 16 Lings in production, and Tails is gonna have a hard time holding his attack.
This is gonna be very difficult, near impossible to hold off, but I've seen crazier things happen. I have seen crazier things happen. 3 sentries, 3 stalkers here for Tails. The Roaches get in though, and everything's gonna die.
Yeah, supply count quickly falling here for Tails, all the way down to 44 supply, 41 supply. Trying to build again another wall with the gateway to prevent any additional units coming in, but Leenock doing a fantastic job focusing down the stalkers. Quickly going to focus down the probes here, and Tails looks like he's going to go down in game number 2. Just the style of Leenock didn't really work on this map. The build that Tails went for. Excuse me, the style of Leenock worked on this map. What am I saying?
Yep.
The style of Tails didn't work, and there we go, man. 1-1, and there's going to be game number 3.
Yeah. That's essentially what that build is weak against from Tails. Like, that's a lot of Lings and Roaches at that point, very low econ, because Tails stays on 1 gas for so long. And when you're on 1 gas for that long, you're not going to have that many sentries, and you kind of need those sentries early on to help defend against any sort of Roachling bust type play. And he didn't have it, so a tough loss for Tails, and I'm interested to see how he adjusts going to the next game.
Yeah, who do you think's gonna take this, man? Give me a prediction. It's game 3,
My
so
heart,
it can go either way.
My heart says Tails, but my brain says Leenock. If that makes sense.
It's funny how you can separate your heart and your brain into like 2 completely different people, but okay. I don't know who's gonna win, to be honest.
It might depend on the map.
Yeah, it's probably gonna depend on the map, but Leenock, you know, he doesn't care about being aggressive in ZVP, and you know, he wins games that way. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does a similar build just to finish up the series. But we're gonna have to see. Game number 3 here between Leenock and Tails is gonna be on its way. And if you guys like our casting, you can follow us on Twitter. Feel free to do that. My Twitter is @SC2PrOmise. I will be streaming here very soon. And I'm going to be involved with a few other events in the future as well. And follow Axeltoss @Axeltoss. We really do appreciate any kind of followings. And if you enjoy our casting, keep watching, man, because there's going to be a lot more.
Yeah, we have the CSN thing every Tuesday? Or is that Monday?
Yes. Tuesday.
Tuesday. Which is a lot of fun. We did Minigun versus Alive. It was entertaining. It was a good show match. It was a lot of fun. Of course, Alive taking that 4-1. A lot of people predicted that, but Minigun fighting like a champ. But yeah, man, we got game 3 coming up between Tails and Leenock, and I like this choice from Tails. He chose Ohana.
Why do you say that?
Well, it's a new map, and a lot of people have been throwing back and forth. All right, is it good for Zerg? Is it good for Protoss? Is it good for Terran? And a lot of Zerg players have been like, oh, I like this map. I like this map. Like a lot of professional Zerg players. Like I was talking to Hawk from Team Vile, and he's like, oh, I'm okay with that as a Zerg. I'm like, are you crazy, man? This is such a good Protoss map. And I think it is a good Protoss map. Call me crazy. Sure. Some might say, like Ostoji, he's #1 on the Grandmaster ladder as a Zerg player. And he's okay with this map, but he also told me he hasn't had a lot of experience with it. But let me get to the point of it. Okay, so there's, as I bring the map up here on the screen, there's only 10 bases. There's only 10 bases. That's huge. That's huge. It's not too hard to get 4 bases as a Protoss. Not too hard to get 5 bases. So what usually happens here, you get your natural expansion as a Protoss, as the game gets started. I'm going to say go. The natural expansion, there's a nice little ramp leading up to it. There's rocks that lead to it as well. And you'll be like, oh my god, there's rocks. It's good for Zerg. Zerg can take it down. But no, it's not that good for Zerg because the third is going to be way far away. That's one thing. Leaving openings for the Protoss player. But then again, like, all this aside, like, these players are so unique with their playstyles, right? So it's like anything I say here, keep in mind, this is with like the current metagame. But these two players, their styles are so unique. Like, Tails doesn't wall off. He doesn't go for the Force Fast Expand. He goes for the Gateway with Zealots and then Expand. And Leenock, like, doesn't take fast third hatches. Like, he gets his early gas, like, a lot of the time. So I'm talking about the current metagame, which might be completely irrelevant to these two players because they are breaking it right now. But yeah, the natural, easy to take as a Protoss, and you can completely wall off your natural expansion at the ramp because you have a lead, you have an opening to your third. And what that means is there's only one attack path to your side of the map, which is the third. The natural expansion, completely wall it off, add a second cannon, you're fine. Third base, only one entrance to that. Sure, it's pretty broad, but add some gateways there to make yourself a little bit of a choke. Get your you have 6 gases. Protoss and 6 gases is huge. You can make a bunch of stuff, a bunch of scary, expensive stuff that's really good. And then march out to the watchtower. There's not a lot of attack paths here. Just have one observer in this area on the left-hand side. Have something at the watchtower. And then you really don't have to worry about that. Anything else, you can advance to the right side. If you see anything with your observer on the other side, you can back up your army. And this sets up your fourth really easily. You can take this one. You can take this one. There's a ramp leading up to that fourth. So, if played correctly, as a Protoss player, I think this map is so good for Protoss. Again, the main points being you can take your third easily, you can take your fourth easily, and as you're doing this, your fourth extends to your opponent's side of the map, so you can do aggression. You can pick off your opponent's fourth base. And then, of course, if it gets to 5 bases, if you're split map against a Zerg, 5 base to 5 base as a Protoss or Terran, life is good for you. So, that's my 2 cents. Sorry that was so long-winded.
No problem. Let's go ahead and introduce our players.
Yep.
In the bottom right, we do have Leenock playing for FXO Esports, playing as the red Zerg. In the upper left position of Ohana, we do have MVPTAiLS, going to be the orange Protoss. And 14 pool, excuse me, wow, what am I saying? 14 hatch on the way here for Leenock. And gas as well as a spawning pool. And now my question is, in this position as Tails, do you go with this build that you know fairly well, or do you kind of go with the metagame build, which is generally the Nexus, Forge Fast Expand? And it looks like he's actually not going to do that. He feels pretty comfortable with this build, man. He is getting the Gateway, is also going to get the Nexus and the Cybernetics Core. And something that's really vulnerable for this build is I feel like it can be really bad against like Baneling busts early on here. Possibly one base, because you're walling off with your Zealots and you're not going to be able to defend with only one gateway production. And Lings and Banelings can be pretty good if timed properly against this build from Tails.
I mean, we saw what it's bad against. What Leenock did in the last game. You know, the 15 hatch, that can't be abused, which makes your economy spectacular. And then once you have that, you know, like relatively spectacular economy, you know, early game versus late game, throwing out a Roachhorn and making nothing but units, you know, taking advantage of that timing. So, you know, will Leenock do the same thing? I wouldn't be surprised. Then again, the natural expansion on this map compared to the last map, a lot easier to hold. There's a ramp leading up to it. Sure, there's 2 entrances, but 2 force field ramp there. So, and you have the high ground advantage, which we didn't have on the last game. So, we'll see. I'm wondering if Leenock does the same thing. He sees exactly what his opponent is doing. He knows exactly that his opponent did the exact same thing. So I'll definitely keep an eye on that. And 2 Zealots going across the map, but speed is already halfway down for Leenock. Just now, going to be taking that third hatch. And he didn't take a third hatch last time, so changing it up a little bit.
Yeah, there we go. The third hatch has been placed down for Leenock. And if you look back at Tails' base, he's doing it again, getting the 2 gateways at the choke. And this is, again, a really good point that you made, Alex, is he is going to be able to wall this off fairly easily because you do have that ramp extending to your natural. So that's going to be taken care of rather easily. And speed almost completed here for Leenock. Harvester count is now in the favor of Leenock. 27 drones to 26. Not really a favor. An advantage by 1 Harvester, which isn't too much early on here. But with that being said, man, creep is going to be started here for Leenock. And moving across the map, okay, Zealot and Stalk are going to try to go to work here into the natural. Going to be able to take care of some of these Lings. 8 additional Lings are going to be forced here from Leenock. Speed is almost done. And I believe 1 speed is done. This Stalker definitely going to go down. There we go. Again, similar to the previous game, Leenock seems to have his timings down for speed. really taking quick work of Stalkers against Protoss players. And a gas being taken here at the natural. 2 gases actually taken at the natural, 1 taken at the main, and Leenock at this position making additional drones. Not going to go for an all-in. He does have a few Lings on the map right now, 10 Lings, so he's going to scout for any kind of pylons. Going to control these watchtowers, and the third almost completed. So this is sort of looking like it's going to be more of a macro-oriented match compared to the previous game.
Yeah, this is like exactly what we saw in game 1, pretty much. Now I'm wondering, is Tails going to do that push he did last time, where